This video is by order of the Peaky Blinders. You may be wondering, what does the TV show Peaky Blinders have to do with Norse paganism? And that would be a fair question. Let me take you on a small journey across a track. So in seasons 5 and 6 of Peaky Blinders, if you've watched it, Tommy Shelby in particular encounters and crosses wits, shall we say, with Sir Oswald Mosley. And if you've watched the show, you may see that he's not a particularly nice person. Now, obviously, Peaky Blinders is semi-historical. Obviously, there's a lot of embellishments. What they haven't embellished on is what Sir Oswald Mosley represented, which, you know, from 1932 to 1940, now you should have some decent idea of what happened around this period of time. So Oswald Mosley was the leader of the British Union of Fascists, and he is, and this is where we get to Norse paganism, he is one of the people responsible for the codifying or formation of the 9 noble virtues. You can go look this up for yourself. I encourage and endorse anyone going to look for themselves and not just relying on someone telling them some stuff. Look for yourself. So yeah, the 9 noble virtues get quoted a lot in Norse pagan circles, in particular more so in Viking communities, because, you know, at a surface level, they read as a decent thing. You have to look deeper, and how they were used and how they continue to be used on by hate groups. So obviously, if you look up the 9 noble virtues, you'll see there are other names linked to it, and the one that's linked to it is Steve McNallen, who is another person who codified them into the 9 noble virtues, or adapted it. It remains, however, the 9 noble virtues. And it's believed that Steve McNallen just evolved the work of Edred Forson, who he would have known. So I want to add, just to this short-ish video, some dates and times for the evolution of what is a concern today from a time between the First and the Second World War that we've got to see recently on a TV show. So the British Union of Fascists were active from 1932 to 1940, and, you know, that was brought to an end by action. They were banned, and obviously on a global scale there was a stand against fascism. I would be surprised if you didn't know this. It's a pivotal moment in recent world history. So Macnallan created, or was part of the formation of the Viking Brotherhood in 1972, continuing these works. In 1974, the Viking Brotherhood evolved into the Asatru Free Assembly that was active till 1986. And then there were some splits, divisions. Again, you can find this out for yourself. I urge you to do so. Don't just, you will always see this argument. I don't want to be one of the sheep just following on sort of some rhetoric about hate against hate groups or whatever. I will always support, encourage. Go look for yourself. I understand some people just want to, go off headlines or put their head in the sand, or it doesn't affect me. And the doesn't affect me attitude is fine to an extent. I'm fairly certain that if we go back in history, every pagan that had that attitude didn't take into account the fact that there was a crusade of Christianity that dealt with that. And, pagans, because they didn't want to stand together, were easier to, convert. So the Asatru Free Assembly, 1974 to 1986, and there was some splits, and this is where the trough comes into formation and various little things. And then Macnallan created the Asatru Folk Assembly in 1995, which is active now. And the thing, obviously, we're taking into account is the fact that very, very recently there was or is suggestion that they're looking to make moves in the UK. Probably because if you look at the news, lots of observable actions in recent times in our political landscape, the UK maybe looks ripe for growing support for the AFA. And that's sad. But there's also hope. As with the recent petition against, the initial proposed plans of the AFA, a petition was made, a clear message was sent that we stand against the AFA. They are a hate group, a minority aspect of pagans in general. They do not speak for all pagans. They do not speak for all Norse pagans. As with a lot of things, what tends to happen is stereotypes get picked up on by extremists who can seem to project what we all are, and that's not true. And I will make every effort in my stand against the AFA to try and be patient and to explain to anyone who wants to learn about them and to understand what the differences are, that this will be a conversation we can have where it doesn't have to involve shouting or exacerbation for, misinterpretations, because we can't afford to do that. We have to have engaging calm, engaging, informative debates where, if you're not a pagan, if you're not a Norse pagan, we offer you the truth, and then you have your free will and your free speech to decide what you do with that information. It's always going to be important that, everyone has the right to free speech. However, you have a moral obligation to exercise that and respond to it with free will and acknowledging that while, there has to be free speech, there's also free reaction, and that doesn't mean supporting someone's right to free speech but not opposing them. In the same way, you can go, as has been said, we're never going to fully eradicate hate or evil. The more important thing is to oppose it, to stand against it. And in the opposing it, in the standing against it, perhaps we can inspire the people around us to be better, or to do what they perhaps don't have the courage to do. Yeah. So Peaky Blinders, relevant to Norse paganism.